So if you happen to end up with that shul, I'll get $50.
Yes. Brother, I want to come first. I am glad Israel won the war. And I'm from America, from Wisconsin. And we are in solidarity with you guys. You guys
with you guys.
You are good people. I like you guys. Go ahead and please.
With you people.
Where's your origin country?
My origin country, brother, is from Egypt. But I'm a Christian. I want to convert to Judaism because the Christians is a lie.
Wow, that's a lot to process.
Oh my God.
Your family left Egypt and they were Coptic?
Yes.
Do you go back at all, or?
I want to go back to غزة الغزاوي فلسطيني بالنعمة.
Oh, so you're happy that Hamas is getting uprooted and that Gaza will be cleaned up?
Of course.
I see.
Because I want you guys to go to hell because you guys deserve hell.
Wait, which guys? You want us?
You, yes.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm really confused now. Now you went to Jews to go to hell?
He just said you were a son of a whore.
I tricked you.
Yes.
Like I literally could hear by the voice of his first syllable who he is. I have it down. As long as like didn't matter what he said, it was so
don't
obvious. You guys are so obvious.
Wait, you guys don't remember this kelp?
They don't remember.
You don't remember this kelp from music?
I do remember. Oh my God. This is the reason why I don't give them out to everyone.
I know
So
why you did that.
this listener is the guy that doesn't listen, and we've been hanging out with him.
No, I know.
So Nick 4% chance he was lying.
No, listen, I have a customer. I will be.
He listens to adults and talks to little girls.
Two for one hookah. 2 for 1 hookah.
Cyanide hookah.
There's no way he was a Coptic.
We have a sale called goats. We are selling them at 2 for 1. Are you interested?
Do you want to make Dinky Dinky a listener?
He's on the phone. I'll be right.
He's offering donkeys and goats, Dinky Dinky.
Don't forget to really get the charcoal nice and hot for him, listener.
Remember, Muhammad didn't wash afterwards.
Oh wow, Edmund is
Oh God! Okay.
Shut up. Edmund is streaming Buttercup's room. It's called Buttercup Zionism. His room.
She believes Zionism needs to be remodeled.
I actually agree with that.
She needs to be remodeled.
Wait, what,
I've
Jeff?
seen a picture of her. She does need to be remodeled.
Oh, really?
Isa, I think when Muhammad got dumped goat, he reached down, grabbed it, pulled it all the way out tip, and then he licked his hand afterwards.
Jeff, you seen a picture of her and she looks like she needs to be remodeled? She has a cute voice. I thought she was good looking.
Well, it's compensating a bit for other things, but let's fast forward to the part where she just joined ISIS instead of like spending all this time with her.
Hey, does Buttercup have a room right now?
What?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, don't tell Sam, he'll run off.
Ooh, Buttercup has a room.
Wait, which Sam?
That's Sam.
Ooh.
I don't see a Buttercup room.
Are you talking about me, Sam?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I don't think so.
That's a Buttercup?
I
I don't
find
see
the room interesting, but...
Jeff, you said he's
is not by volume, right? And an accuracy is not by volume.
No, bro, you said dry goods use the same
Accuracy is not by volume.
Your fucking mouth.
I think I know what I said, and I think I'm the expert on what I said. I think I know a little bit better than you do.
They are not the same.
Sir, tell me what brand
Why do we
Lunchables
have to go
is?
down this rabbit hole?
Which
If I
company is
was right the
Lunchables?
whole
How do I get a
time?
hold of the
Then you got
Lunchables
Eric
company?
booty shaking with a
How do I get a hold of the
Kira
Lunchables
mask on,
company?
and your ass is over here
How do
clapping.
I get a hold of the Lunchables company? How do I call them?
Fuck, now you're going. I'm
Yeah,
pointing
you're
out
dumb.
3
You're
minutes
dumb.
long.
Look,
You see how
these
some of my
agreements are circumstantial, right? And from brand to brand, agreements aren't always going to guarantee to be the same. In some circumstances, they may be different. In some circumstances, they may be the same. Even in some cases, these bulk buys of these white-labeled store brands are actually QC refusals of other products
Let him just
that didn't quite make it to the same
literally
cut.
what people do, and he's right. It's worse, bro.
Yeah, don't let him gaslight you, Kane, and this is where concrete was like, what? It's the same. What?
Yeah, it is the same.
What?
It is. It is.
Hold on.
There you go. Your hand has returned. Just like that. Magic. So, with that precursor, who have I not welcome to the room? Larry? Mosh? Sean? Fatima? John?
We're just saying what they're saying, bro.
I think Kane is right here, brother.
I put a dozen examples in the chat where they're identical.
We would Eric, and you know this. We would start it from an economic standpoint.
Thomas?
I put a dozen examples in the back channel where they're identical.
Chat, which is linked above, which you are encouraged to join to watch the fireworks or participate. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Facebook Messenger. It's there for you. Glistening Outlook, I love that nickname. Stunny, Thomas, and another Joe, and Glistening, welcome to the stage. We'll be starting here in less than a minute at precisely the top of the hour to talk about this very important issue of whether the president is serious about serving another term and whether he can. I'm going to expand this beyond what everybody thinks is so obvious. So welcome to the Critical Thinking Forum. We're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time. Today's topic is, does Trump really want another term, and can Trump really get another term? See how I managed to get both of those questions into one sentence in the finite amount of space I have to do the title? I thought that was pretty cool. Patting myself on the back so hard that I'm going to break my arm. So, of course, everybody, and Joanne just posted it very strongly in the chat. No, he can't. The Constitution doesn't allow it. He can't do it. Full stop. Not even worth the discussion. Why are you even bothering with this, Gary? Well, because we don't know whether they'll figure a workaround, as they claim they will. We don't know whether they will follow the Constitution. We don't know what, if they don't follow what we believe the Constitution says, the Supreme Court will try to stop him. We don't know if the Supreme Court stops him or tries to, whether there's a mechanism to actually enforce a Supreme Court ruling. We don't know any of this. So let's just backtrack a little bit to talk about why we're discussing this. As recently as yesterday, the president suggested that he might run for or serve, which is a different issue. Serving and running for are two different things, another term. Is he joking? Is he serious? Sometimes he appears to be trolling the Democrats. Sometimes he seems to be serious. Bannon seems to be serious about it. And Joanne is correct. There is no realistic, lawful way today to bypass the Constitution's two-term limit. Unless there would be a constitutional amendment, which obviously is not in the cards. The 22nd Amendment, which was ratified in 1951, possible and what isn't with this particular administration. What if he were to run as vice president and then succeed to the presidency? Is that a workaround? What if he contested the meaning of elected? The word elected versus serve. Of course, any mainstream constitutional scholar would suggest that the intent is when you say elected, it means serve. But I don't know. It's been floated. I'm not floating it, but I'm saying that people have been floating that possibility. How about a House contingent election? Electoral college maneuvers or other technical workarounds. That's been discussed. I understand that those would face enormous constitutional and political obstacles. It would probably most certainly prompt an immediate Supreme Court review, but again, and by the way, throw the nation into a constitutional crisis. Who knows what the Supreme Court might rule? And even if the Supreme Court were to rule what one would think that they ought to rule, who is going to enforce it if he decides not to leave office? Amending the Constitution is the only straightforward, lawful method, constitutional amendment. But as I suggested, altering the 22nd Amendment, that is a mountain way too high, in my opinion. So legally, it seems to Gary that Joanne is correct. There's no viable, legitimate shortcut today that will reliably allow Mr. Trump to serve a third elected term. But note that I chose the word elected. Politically, could he do it within our current framework? Highly unlikely. So why are we discussing it? Joanne asked me in the text in the chat above. Why are you even bringing this up? My answer to her and others who have that question is, even if it's not legally feasible, this is persistent talk of a third term. So if nothing else, does that not affect the dynamics of politics in the country? Doesn't it reshape party dynamics? Doesn't it influence fundraising and messaging? Can it not unsettle opponents? So even if it can't be done, I think we can all agree that this rhetoric does have an impact, even if there's no legal pathway. And then again, whether it's true or not, whether he's trolling us or not, he and Bannon, both he and Bannon, most strongly Bannon, are telling you and me there is a way. Bannon said it last week. There is, and we will reveal it very soon. Again, Joanne may be very correct. Gary, you're playing into their trolling. Why? We have more serious things to discuss. But I will tell you that I know people even before they started talking about this publicly who have been concerned, and whether they're just alarmists or not, that the president will find a way not to leave office at the end of his term. They believe, whether it's true or not, I'm not suggesting it's true, but there are people who feel that our republic is doomed now, unless the Supreme Court stands up to his apparent desires, which I say apparent because there's no way of knowing whether he's for real or whether he's messing with people. Unless if the Supreme Court does stand up to it, he's willing to adhere to what the Supreme Court says, or if he's not, there's actually a mechanism to ensure that the ruling of the Supreme Court holds. Let me just say this. Even if there is zero opportunity for him to remain in office at the end of this term. Zero opportunity. And he recognizes it ain't going to happen. The fact that he is floating this as President of the United States, if in fact he is doing this just to mess with people's emotions, is in Gary's mind, you could disagree, come to the stage and front me off on this, almost worse than actually doing it. Why would a president of the United States play the population in this manner? Is it funny? Is that what the president is supposed to be? Funny? Sort of like the meme of him with a crown dropping excrement on the top of the people protesting this No Kings thing because they're afraid that this administration is becoming autocratic and starting to resemble a monarchy. Is that funny? I think it is funny if it was an editorial cartoon. I think it's funny if some Trump supporter creates it and publishes it. Okay, it's funny, making fun of people with whom you disagree. But for the president to retweet it on his Truth Social, I don't know whether he created it or somebody in his administration created it or whether he picked it up from someplace and he reposted it. He's mind-fucking people in the country. And I will just say, this is Gary's values. I've always believed that an elected official, once elected, is representative, serving all the people from whom that his position involves. Obviously, in his case, it's the entire population. And I think that when a politician has this kind of a character flaw, it really takes away from any of the positive things that he is doing. And anybody who has been reading the chat or has been paying attention to any of the rhetoric knows that there are pundits and regular people out there who cannot abide by giving him credit for anything he does that's good. And you hear people who are supporters of the president come to the microphone here and say, he could cure cancer. And these people would find a reason to criticize that. And I think they're right about that. But is there not potentially a cause and effect to that criticism? People are, rightly or wrongly, extremely concerned when the president of the United States and when his chief political architect, Steve Bannon, publicly talk about another term. It scares them. It scares them to the point where they think, is this the end of our republic? So even if it isn't, even if it's just a troll, isn't that bad enough? Okay, that's Gary's opinion, and maybe I'm overstating it. Obviously, I don't think I am, otherwise I wouldn't have said it. But what do you have to say about this? I'm going to start calling people in the order in which I see them on the stage. And today, that order begins with Marshall, followed by Howard.
Howdy, I'm going to start with what happens if you won't leave office. That presumes that there was an election. If he decides not to leave the White House, power from one executive to the next switches over at 12:01 noon. So at 12 noon, he is still president and still has the plenary power of the office. At 12:01 noon, the guy on the Capitol steps is now the president with all of the plenary power. So I think that's important to note, and that newly elected president would instruct either the DOJ or the FBI to remove the president out of the White House, the former president out of the White House. So I also want to go into, you quoted the 22nd Amendment. I want to quote the 12th Amendment, which I think is important to note. The 12th Amendment, and this is in the chat for people, it's the election of the president and the vice president. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote ballots for president and vice president on one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name the ballot they shall name their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots in the person voted for vice president. Now, where do we go? Let's see. Where is it? There's a specific part of the 12th Amendment where, it's the last sentence, I think. There it is. But no person shall be constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president. Meaning, if you're not eligible to serve as president, you've already served 2 terms by the plain reading of the 22nd Amendment, you are not eligible to be vice president. So the other thing I want to look at, and I put this in the chat too, it's an article from NPR. NPR is National Public Radio. For those who are unaware, I'm sure most people are aware, National Public Radio leans slightly to the left, but I think this is important. The president, this article was written by a dude named Hansai Lo Wong. Presidents can be elected twice. Trump could try and run around that, experts say. So, in the wake of Trump saying he wanted to serve a 3rd term, Representative Dan Goldman of New York introduced a House resolution which would not allow people who serve 2 non-concurrent terms to move. There is a legal scholar by the name of William Baude, professor at the Constitutional Law Institute at the University of Chicago. There is no wiggle room. One on the rule the presidents can't be elected more than twice. So Baude is going to be quoted throughout this article. There are but winning an election is not the only way a person can become president, and there are 2 hypothetical situations involving presidential succession, Baude adds, that are not addressed fully in the Constitution's text. They reveal ways which the common understanding of the 22nd Amendment's presidential term limits can be challenged in court. So this is, I think, one of the most important pieces. If the current president is to try to want to serve a 3rd term, he is going to have to go to court and lodge an argument that says he can do so. In 1999, a Minnesota Law Review article called "The Twice and Future President" explains that a twice-elected president can become vice president, and then if the current president were to be removed from office, resign, or die, return as commander-in-chief. The federal government sanctioned record of interpretations of the Constitution also points to the possibility of a former 2-term president serving as Speaker of the House of Representatives or as another federal officer could become president through the Presidential Succession Act of 1947. All of these are hypothetical situations which get around key wording in the 22nd Amendment's restriction: elected. There definitely was an awareness that the more narrow language they'd come up with was not going to cover every scenario, explains Peabody. Bruce Peabody is an article and co-authors of the Professor of Government and Politics at the Fairleigh Dickinson University. Says Congress, term considering proposals, would have the twice-elected president not eligible for a 3rd term. So, in a different state, Brian Colt, a law professor at the Michigan State University, who wrote about a hypothetical 2-term president getting nominated to run for vice president in what's called Constitutional Cliffhangers and a Legal Guide for Presidents and Their Enemies, calls a loophole in the 22nd Amendment's term limit. Dwight Eisenhower alluded to this. Let's see. The only thing this is Eisenhower, the only thing I know about the presidency the next time is this: I can't run, but someone has raised the question that if I were invited, I could constitutionally run for vice president, and you might find out that one, I don't know. In decades since, the similar chatter, loopholes, and legal political circles has surrounded twice elected presidents, including Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Let's see. Other legal experts, however, point to the last sentence of the 12th Amendment, which covers the Electoral College as a roadblock for any twice elected president attempting to run for the White House to the vice presidency. It says no person constitutionally ineligible for the office of president shall be eligible to run for the vice presidency. Still, in court, a lawyer could try to argue being a natural-born citizen, at least 35 years old, a resident of the United States for at least 14 years, and the only presidential eligibility requirements specified. Says Stephen Gillers, a professor emeritus at New York University School of Law, who proposed in 2004 that Bill Clinton run for vice president. Quote, I want to make it very, very clear. I'm identifying an argument that Trump could make in order to get back into the White House. I'm not endorsing it, Gillers says. But we know the expertise, the experience, that even if it's far-fetched, and if it offers the possibility of a third presidential term, Trump will make it. If his health holds up, he will make the argument he likes the job. Whether or not it succeeds in court is another matter. To avoid any other debate about whether the 12th Amendment forbids presidential electors from choosing twice elected president as a third term, Gillers says there could be a similar arrangement in which Trump does not run on a winning Republican ticket, but after the newly elected vice president resigns, becomes vice president with congressional approval. Quote, it is not impossible, and just the existence of the possibility of it in the next 4 years gives Trump power that enhances his position, Gillers says. How could the U.S. Supreme Court react to any attempt? More straightforward possibility that some constitutional scholars have not ruled out is Trump running for a third term as president, regardless of what the 22nd Amendment says. Quote, if you think about it, the 22nd Amendment assumes that one would follow the Constitution, said Gloria Brown Marshall, a constitutional scholar and law professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. But if one is not going to follow the Constitution, what difference does it make what's written there? Any attempt, administration, Trump will likely spark lawsuits and have an extremely polarized environment. The court has ways of ducking the 22nd Amendment question, and if the court ducks the question, then it would be up to other actors, whether it's states for example, nominations and primary votes, or Congress at the moment at which it determines who won the Electoral College, to decide whether the 22nd Amendment had the force of law, Huck says. Brown Marshall warned that such a test of the constitutional could destabilize the U.S. political landscape at a time when the ability of the courts and Congress to serve as checks and balances in the White House is under question. Quote, I don't think everyone is going to sit back and let him become a king without fighting back through protest, Brown Marshall says. We're looking at a lot of weight to fall on regular people if we don't have the checks and balances of the other two branches. Now, I read all of that because I had been under the strict impression that there weren't any arguments that could be made. Well, apparently, according to this, he could go to the courts and make an argument. I think he would probably lose. I don't think the courts would abide by it. But Brown Marshall's comment here is instructional, in which she says, if the court chooses not to follow the plain reading of the 22nd Amendment, then what does the 22nd Amendment actually matter? And so I'll land with those things.
You know, as you were talking, I was going to make Marshall Brown's comment position, to take that position and kind of throw it in your face, and then you went to her. This is a problem that a lot of people have. You are correct when you say, or one is correct when one says, no, under the Constitution, he cannot, full stop, no discussion, go on to another topic, Gary. But there are people who believe by hook or by crook, and I don't know whether it's his intention, and I don't know how successful he would be if it is. but there are a goodly number of people who believe that by hook or by crook, his intention is to not leave office, presuming, as you point out, his health holds out. And then what? And then what, if that's the case? Or, Gary, shut up. You're scaring people even worse than the president is when he trolls them with this nonsense. Am I? Thank you, Marshall.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are. I meant to say this in the chat, but just didn't get around to it. Great topic. I have my personal set view on the topic, but as the article I just read said, there are avenues for questions, not avenues for strictly, hey, you absolutely can. But as Brown points out, if the Supreme Court doesn't follow the plain reading, then what good is the 22nd and the 12th Amendment in the first place?
I think one of the problems that we have with this presidency is when a president says something, the nation listens. The media cover it. We don't know the veracity of what he says or whether he intends what he proclaims. Are we supposed to ignore it? At our own peril, in my opinion. Thank you, Marshall. We'll go to Howard, followed by Scott.
Thanks, Gary. I'm just going to give perspective, and it's actually different than Marshall's perspective on this. I mean, what do we know? We do know that January 6th did happen, so at least there's been demonstration of behavior of, hey, I really don't want to leave office, and I don't believe in fair elections. So January 6th, whether you agree politically that it was an insurrection or not, but that event did happen. So my point of view is, since then, Supreme Court has also granted something called presidential immunity. And I think a caution to everyone, I don't think we should just put this in the traditional frame and filter of the past or what any precedent has happened. I think we're in a new paradigm, and I could see a scenario where, through an executive order, if there's a tremendous amount of doubt of the outcome of an election, and we already have, and today I believe the president in Japan was talking or made reference to the National Guard, and he made reference that there could be other military beyond the National Guard on city streets. You could see a scenario where, if there's tremendous doubt in the outcome of an election, there's an executive order that's being issued that's going to just extend. It technically may not even be called a third term. It's just going to be an extension of the existing term until everything can be totally resolved. And it's just going to lead to, obviously, a lot of chaos and upheaval and who knows what. But I wouldn't put it past that, through the executive order process combined with presidential immunity, who's going to stop this from happening if that's the path he wants to go down? So, interested in other thoughts on it, and I'm just saying that I don't expect that necessarily to happen, but I do believe, Gary, it is a possibility, and I'll land it there.
So you interject something that Marshall and I did not, and that is the presidential immunity, and that's a major component to this discussion. You're right. Absolutely correct.
And if we're in a state of war or there's a perceived national emergency, sorry, folks, we're going to have to defer it. And right now, until it all gets resolved, we're just going to keep the trains running on time, so to speak.
How do you
know how many emergencies?
Defer state elections?
What's that, Marco?
I said, how do you defer state elections? Yes, the Federal Election Commission has large governance over presidential elections, but the elections for senators and for House members and for your local dog catcher, that's all done on a state level. How could the president cancel elections in the state of Texas, or how could the president cancel elections?
I don't know, but Marco,
the time, place, manner clause is clearly derived to the states. It's not derived to the federal government.
I want to connect this conversation to the one we had yesterday. What happens if he's realizing, you know what, maybe in 2028, let's be in a situation where during the election process, the government shut down. Then what?
at least in my view, the time plus manner clause still derives. The only election I'm aware of the federal government having strict control over is the presidential election. Yes, they can make rules governing House and Senate elections as the time place manner clause declares. The time place manner clause derives anything below the level of president to the states. And I don't know how you cancel 50 separate state elections all across the country. Luckily, Your Honor's here, and so if he is able to stick around for the full length of this, he has much broader expertise in the election space than I do.
I'm just challenging you to think beyond the traditional paradigm. That's my point.
Isn't that Marshall? To answer your question directly, Marshall, isn't that what's happening in Arizona right now? The Speaker of the House decides, well, we just won't convene. And if we can't convene, it's impossible for us to seat a duly elected member of Congress. Well, if the Speaker of the House just decides we won't convene and therefore we can't certify the election, then Donald Trump remains president. Could that not happen?
Yes, I think that could happen in contravention of our Constitution. But yes, that seems like a possibility. Not a right one, but it does seem like a possibility if the House refuses to ratify what the Electoral College did. Then yeah, you don't have another president-elect.
And remember,
You have a winner of the election, but you don't have a declared winner by our metrics.
Remember, Mike Pence is not Vice President of the United States. Just want to point that out, that if we have some kind of a repeat of the November attempt to stop the certification of the election, the guy who stood between that attempt and its success was Mike Pence. But Mike Pence is not part of this equation any longer. I'm not trying to be overly alarmist myself, but it does concern me when the president says he's going to serve another term. And as you point out, Marshall, the Constitution says he can't. So then why is he saying it? Is it because he doesn't really mean it? Or because he does?
I think because he does and because he thinks he can say it. I don't know whether that'll mean that he actually can do it. But as the article I pointed out read, if the Supreme Court, if he sues over the 22nd and the 12th Amendment, and the Supreme Court says, well, the plain meaning of those texts are not what the plain meaning of those texts are, then yeah, we could be in a bad place. And as Howard points out, if we don't have somebody to ratify what the Electoral College did, you actually have a declared winner per our media apparatuses and per the population, but not for any of the constitutional metrics that would put that person in office.
Thank you, Marshall and Howard. We're going to go to Scott, followed by Brett. Scott.
Gary, my good friend, good evening to you. It's a wonderfully gray day here in the city of brotherly love. And wow, what a topic, Gary. What a Pandora's box you've opened. And what a sort of, this is fascinating. Thank you to my friends, Marshall and Howard, for interesting comments, interesting spirited discussion. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, and I'll try to be concise, but a couple things. I think regarding, republics are held together by norms, right? More than laws. Norms are the foundations, and so we've already seen Trump is the definition of a norm breaker, right? I mean, and so that's already one of the things you have, right? You have somebody that I think lacks the fundamental understanding of and respect for the norms of the republic. And so, that's a huge aspect. The other thing, some commentators, including Bill Maher, who I'm a authoritarian things we're not used to, right? Let's get them used to them early, right? So that people become accustomed to them in case you do want to suspend an election, right? I mean, that is, and again, is there a way, according to the Constitution? Maybe not, but what happens? Trump just says, screw the Constitution, which I think is quite possible. But even, that being said, also, I think has been brought up, and I think is clearly an option. What if you just cite? I actually think stealing a presidential election is much easier than stealing a statewide election or a House race, even, because the presidential election has to be ratified by, has to go through the Electoral College. If you can stop the Electoral College, if you can get some irregularity, if you can get J.D. Vance to not certify it, what happens? It goes to the House, and the House then votes not along individual membership lines. It votes by delegation. California gets a vote, Montana gets a vote, Maine gets a vote, Florida gets a vote. Trump would certainly right now, and even after the midterms, because I think Republicans have an advantage in that configuration, would certainly be awarded the presidency if somehow that he remained on the ballot, there was an irregularity, and that, or as is said before, maybe there's an irregularity and it goes to the House and the House votes Trump it. There's so many irregularities I can imagine. I'm not depending on this court to abide by a plain reading of the Constitution. I mean, I'd like it if they did. The 22nd would help, but man, wow, bets are off, baby, with this court. So, there's just a lot of variables there. Now, why is Trump doing this? Great question. And none of us are in Trump's head, right? And probably thank God for us, right? But you have trusted surrogates like Steve Bannon out there saying, this is for real. This is no joke. This is happening. Trump, sometimes saying he'd like to do it, sometimes saying, we've got people that are saying, the people are saying that I'd love to do it, but I don't know. He's playing coy. I have a couple thoughts in that regard. One, Mr. Trump loved more than anything relevance, right? What's less relevant than a lame duck, right? And after the midterms, you're a lame duck. And really, it's been said the presidency is 18 months, right? Because after 18 months, people are in full election mode for the midterms, and then you're a lame duck, right? So he's already halfway there to the end of his second term. So this keeps you relevant. This ends the lame duck factor. You are in a position of permanent relevance if you keep this going, right? You don't have the lame duck sort of moniker and baggage over your head. He also might be doing it just to troll, right? Just to sort of screw the Democrats, which he's great at, and seeing Democrats with their hair on fire. And look, I think we've seen that the authoritarian card has not to date been very effective, right? As far as no Kings protests notwithstanding, right? The No Kings movement had a lot of participation. That being said, it still hasn't proved to be the silver bullet. So I think it's something that Trump actually kind of wants at times to play. So then he can say, I'm not a king, I'm not a dictator, look at these people, kind of mocking the Democrats and having them light their hair on fire. And maybe part of him would like a third term, right? But I think the guy is addicted to permanent relevance, even if he doesn't think there's a third term possibly. The third term is somehow precluded, even if he's not resigned to doing it, which apparently Tucker Carlson said recently, but he thinks this is all just theater. But even if it's theater, it serves a really effective purpose, I think, in that it gets him out of the lame duck situation and makes him politically relevant, right? And it keeps his relevance alive well after the midterms, right? It keeps the party in line, right? If Trump's still politically relevant, he can hold the threats of primaries over people with much more force than if you were a lame duck and everybody was thinking about being the next guy or gal. Thanks.
Something you said about normalization causes my mind to go to the last time I raised an issue, a what if issue, which this clearly is. And there were people who gave me some pushback, which is fine, saying, Gary, what you're bringing up is totally irrelevant. It won't happen. It can't happen. This is the United States of America. The Constitution won't allow for it. So why are you raising the issue? And that issue was when I suggested at the initial announcement of the ramping up of ICE immigration enforcement, that the day would come when people would be stopped on the street and their papers would be demanded. No, Gary, I was told, why are you even bringing this up? You're alarming people. The Constitution does not allow for that, and it won't happen. It can't happen. But it is happening. And there is no law that says that an American citizen has to carry identification papers to show that they are a citizen. But if you meet a profile during an immigration sweep and you cannot prove that you are an American citizen, you are now incarcerated, and it's sorted out later, which could be hours later, days later, weeks later, months later. No, Gary, that can't happen. The Constitution prohibits it. That's what I was told. Don't raise the issue because you're just trying to cause problems that don't occur, won't occur, can't occur. Well, the Constitution says the president can't do this too. So why am I raising the issue? I don't know. Why am I? Thank you, Scott. We'll go to Brent, followed by glistening.
You know, whether you live in a democratic republic, it's really not about the last election. It's about the next election, whether the next election is going to be free or fair. You know, I think starting at whether he could be president again is one step too far. I think you should first ask yourself, is he a person that is willing to do whatever is required to stay in power? I think he clearly is. You know, if you look at as Howard mentioned, if you look at the last election, there's January 6th, sure, but there was also schemes, which, Jack Smith detailed in his indictment, in which they had an electoral scheme, in which they had false electors that were going to kind of throw the election into doubt. Eventually, the idea was to pass it back to the House. The House does vote by state delegations, which they had 26 at the time. So, this was a well thought out plan to stay in office, and what really stopped him isn't himself. What really stopped him was an administration. Mike Pence is one, but others was an administration that's like, whoa, this is too far. This is illegal. This is whatever. And that stopped him. That administration is dead. He doesn't have that administration. He has an administration that is willing to say, yes, sir, how can I make this happen? And they're not really bound by the Constitution or the law in their thinking. The Constitution says the president can't receive anything but his salary, which has to be set before his term. He's getting ready to pay himself $230 million out of the U.S. Treasury and approve it himself. That to me seems to be against the written language of the Constitution, but he seems to be okay with ignoring it. So when you kind of start from there, I think the real question is the mechanism he tries to stay in power, not how he tries to stay in power. I think, running as vice president, that's one possible mechanism. I think, that could plausibly work. I think there's probably other mechanisms he could probably utilize to stay in power. But whatever the mechanism constitutional, whether that's extra legal. I don't think we should put any doubt that he is willing to do that. The question is, will it work this time? And I said when he was reelected, we might have just seen our last reelection. And I still feel that way. There's a good chance we might have just seen our last free and fair election. I think there are hopeful signs. I think there are hopeful signs, in that some of the courts are still standing up. I think, I think there's some hope that that's not the case and he'll leave office. But I think we must, accept some plausible chance that kind of the dream of our founders is now dead and we live in something uniquely different.
Thank you, Brent. We'll now go to listening, followed by candidate. Listening.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I think this is a good question to ask. I'm a little bit with Scott that I think she is trying to remain relevant and really doesn't want to get into that lean duck period. But there is that normalization of things that shouldn't. Sorry about that. I had an alarm. For example, even prior to his election, the recruitment and identification of loyalists who would pledge loyalty to Trumpism prior to his election, notably by John McEntee, who was a senior advisor, and James Bacon, who developed questionnaires to test the loyalty of new recruits they were going to add to a personnel database in order to recruit from. I think that possibly could be where we're getting some of these ICE recruits from. It's concerning that the DOJ effort did get rid of sort of the expert civil servants who understood what it meant to be in the civil service, which requires that you aren't pledging any loyalty to a particular candidate. So those things have already disrupted what would help to create a normal outcome should there be a disruption. I do not think that any of the legal avenues that were discussed by Marshall are even something that would be considered at this point. I think a lot will depend on what our economy looks like going forward. The technocrats that have been investing heavily, they're doing it for their own good. This is a quid pro quo because they don't want to be heavily regulated, especially as they're developing new tools with AI that are going to disrupt the job market. So our economy is probably going to be disrupted during his term, like it was during COVID, actually, where there were a lot of people that were just out of a job. I think we're going to see that. I think if you look at the Trump 2028 merchandise, who benefits from that? It's the Trump Organization. So it's the for-profit business empire owned by, you guessed it, Donald Trump and his family. So I think he's profiting heavily, and I think it is a tool. And I think the MAGA, loyalist or cult, if you will, they like to troll people as well by wearing it. So they're going to purchase it, even though it's probably, a made in China bullshit piece of cloth that they can put on their head. But whatever, to each their own. If you want to buy the gold, whatever emblems that he has, that's up to you. But I do think it's concerning that it lays the groundwork for anyone else that should have cognitive capability at the time, because to be quite honest, the way that Trump has displayed himself over the last few days, you have to question his mental acuity. I don't think he's going to have what it takes in 2028 to pull off what he did in 2017, absent having a stand-in or look-alike, lead the crowd to prevent any sort of transition of power. But that is something that we have to consider that somebody else could look at it in the future, because it does already it lays the pathway to create an abnormality in our democracy. And if we don't repair it, and if we don't have elect candidates in Congress that are willing to put laws in place that are crystal clear, so that there aren't any loopholes that a somewhat biased court could potentially uphold, then we're definitely in trouble going forward, because we're no longer, as far as I can tell, we're no longer a city upon a hill. When you have ICE bashing car windows of people like American citizens who served our country because they are questioning whether they're a citizen or not, and they happen to have, brown skin, that we're in a whole new country. And it looks a little bit more like communist China to me than it does to anything related to, having a great America or making America great again. Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me, Gary?
Yes, candidate, given that you are a candidate for Congress, and presuming that you are elected in 2026 and reelected in 2028, or even if you're not elected in 2026 and you are elected in 2028, what will you pledge to the American people to do as a member of Congress to ensure that the will of the people is followed when it comes to the certification of the presidential election, no matter what that outcome might be? And if in fact you are elected in 2026, what can you assure the American people here right now you will do to ensure that there are checks and balances that the Congress upholds as its responsibility with regard to the executive branch?
Hey, Gary, great question. So I fed this question to Grok. Give me pros and cons, 5 each, of Trump attempting.
Grok?
Yeah, I'm using Grok on X. It ties into my profile. I'd like to read it to you if I may. It's very brief.
I know, but that's not answering my question. That's answering the question of the room. So you're right. They are great questions. Can you answer them as a candidate?
I would like to, but I would like to preface what I'm about to say with what Grok is telling us, which is supposedly more intelligent than me, right? Because AI is smarter than my brain. Is it okay, Gary, if I answer you the way I'd like to answer you? I mean, if not, I will just not read it and tell you what I think I can do for the constituents of the 16th district.
Well, I would appreciate that first. I want to know what you think. I don't care what Grok thinks. I can ask Grok the same question and get the same or maybe a different answer than you.
That may be true, but I did learn something from it. So I would like to share it afterwards. But I would just tell the voters of the 16th district, if that's who you're suggesting I'm addressing, that this is actually all clickbait, fake news. And the now is all important. And going back to what FDR said, as I said, I played FDR in our 8th grade play in Annie, is the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. And so this clickbait news about Trump seeking a 3rd term is the same thing as him posting an image on Instagram of him flying a plane over Democrats and pooping on them.
That's not what he was referring to when he made the speech. When he made the speech, he was referring to government involvement in people's lives. He was saying there is nothing to fear from greater government involvement.
That's not what he said. That's not the quote, Marshall.
That's exactly.
It's not okay. I'm gonna have to Google this one. I've never read that.
It was not about World War II. It was not about.
It's a philosophical statement, you fool.
It was about the New Deal.
It's about fear. It's about courage. It's about bravery. It's a philosophy statement, Marshall.
In people's lives in a greater way than they had previously. It's not about fear for Donald Trump. It's not about fear for something else. That was not the intent of the speech, and that wasn't why he gave it. So if you're going to quote the guy, you could at least put him in the vein that he said the thing in the first place.
All right. Well, let me get back to Gary's question. Thank you, Marshall, for your opinion there. I don't think it's fact what you're saying. I'll have to Google it. But, you know, as a congressperson,
Just read the speech, John. It's really not that difficult.
that's what I told you I would just do. Okay, if you want to Google it for me, you know, put it in the chat above, click that messenger link, Marshall, in your cheetah jacket there, and let everybody know the truth about that quote from FDR. If you're going to talk so much about it, do a little work. Post the link.
Okay, if you would like me to post the link, I will when I get done driving.
Okay, great. Just pull over on the side of the highway right now. Just, you know, put your money where your mouth is. Just pull over right now and get the link. Okay, Gary, I'm ready to finish addressing your question.
So in the interim, I would like the candidate to address the questions.
Sure. Gary, I come from a philosophical position, and I just want the voters in the 16th district to know that Darren LaHood, who I'm running against, who is best friends with Donald Trump, is more than happy to see Donald Trump serve a third term. But I have faith and respect for our president to know that he would not usurp our beautiful tradition and try to pull a fast one on us.
Was a question that I posed to you, and your ability to answer a question with something that wasn't asked makes you now officially the politician that you claim to be.
Gary, is this the Gong Show? I'm trying to tell you my truth. I'm trying to be authentic and genuine here.
We're not talking about your truth. We're talking about the subject at hand. There's a giant difference.
All right. Well, I can tell that the green bean fascist censors are hard at work to try to prevent me from talking about anything.
No, we simply want you to stick to the topic. That's not a fascist thing. That is you needing to stick to the topic in the room instead of making the room what you want it to be about, which you have a tendency to do.
All right. Well, that could be projection, Marshall. Go check yourself before you wreck yourself in the mirror. What I'm trying to tell you is today I notarized 1,100 signatures or 117 petitions for my campaign. I'm taking action here. I can talk philosophy. If you want to talk legal mechanistic impeachment protocols, we can do that. But if you want to get angry and yell at me and censor me and prevent me from having a voice, well, sir, you are no gentleman. And that cheetah jacket you wear is not the jacket of a gentleman. That cheetah jacket you wear is the gentleman of a censor, a pimp.
I simply want you to stick to the topic.
Well, I would like him to answer the two questions that I asked him.
Go ahead, Gary. Repeat your questions. I'll try to give you a quick summary. But Marshall keeps interrupting me here in his cheetah jacket.
Oh, okay. I don't care what kind of clothes Marshall wears. That's not what's at issue here, right?
Of course not, but Marshall keeps interrupting me when I'm trying to give you my genuine, authentic response. Go ahead, Gary. If you want to summarize your two questions into one, I'd be happy to answer them for you. But I also had something I wanted to say. I didn't know this was a Q&A.
Well, you're running for office, and we're discussing an issue that's paramount to the question that Congress may have to deal with. Folks trying to get on stage, it's past the time, sorry. Folks on stage, we will go into extra time. We'll get to everybody who's on stage.
Well,
so,
I can.
Do you really need me to? Did you forget it? Because
I didn't forget it. I'm just telling you, if we have to impeach the president because he's thinking about trying to pull a fast one and get a third term on us and be a Putin or be some type of, fascist, insane tyrant, it's not going to happen. Not under my watch as a congressperson. I can guarantee you Darren LaHood, who wants to take your guns, wants to tax and borrow and spend you to death. We're $37 trillion in debt. I'm a knight trying to fight as a patriot against all tyrants. This country has serious fiscal problems.
So what can the president is spending like crazy under the guise of fiscal responsibility, as he did in his first term. So what will you do as a member of Congress to tamp down that spending by the president?
Thomas Massey says we only need 6 or 7 patriot Republicans or Democrats to say no, and we can pass a defund the HR. We can defund the big beautiful bill with an HR act. But I got to tell you, Gary, the fact that you're going to bring up ICE operations and Border Patrol operations. I live here in Chicago. I see the arrests and I see the shootings and the cops driving down the street because there's maniacs with guns in the streets. We live in crime town over here. So
we're not talking about immigration.
You brought it up, Gary.
John, the reason I brought it up was to make the comparison to the last time that I was told that I was raising an issue that would not come to fruition because the Constitution would not allow it. Now, are you going to suggest to me that people are not being stopped on the street and their citizenship papers being demanded by ICE agents?
No, that's happening.
And does that not concern you? Is that not a violation of the Constitution?
It concerns me that it concerns you, and it concerns me that people on the street who are American citizens are spit in the face of these law enforcement officers. Comply with the police, and there won't be any problems. We have a crime, immigrant, alien invasion on our hands.
Okay, we got it. Comply with the police, even if what the police are doing is unconstitutional. If you believe in that,
Censor!
vote for that guy.
Censor!
Dave, followed by Daryl.
Be very short. So Trump make jokes when he visited Malaysia, and he said all the Asian leaders are very distinguished except those from America. And then he said, no, I'm joking, and they all know. And then he praised Marco Rubio. He is born for the excellent job he's doing. So he's praising people who work for him. If he's so serious, want to continue third term, he will be very careful to give praises for those people who work for him. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Dave. Daryl, followed by Matt.
Hey, Gary, can you hear me?
Loudly and clearly.
So, it's this thing, like, people hear what they want to hear, right? Steve Bannon did an interview 2 weeks ago, and he said absolutely. He said Trump will be in for a third term, and he said people need to just get used to this and accept this, right? So you can hear this, and for some reason, some people will just say, oh, no, it's not possible, can't happen. The only thing that you need for it to happen is for no one to actually get in his way. I mean, look at what's happening, right? It's like the government, it's 26, 27, days into the shutdown? How many people are actually noticing it anymore? I had a conversation with a buddy of mine last night. They had a big charity thing at Cipriani's down by Wall Street last night. No one's talking about the fact that the government's been shut down for almost a month. It's becoming normal. No one's talking about the fact that, Congress has been gone for almost a month to keep simply to delay a vote on Epstein. So it was Scott who said earlier, and I think you yourself said, Gary, this is going to be, it's the normalization of this stuff. It's not beyond the pale for this to continue, and then for him to say, look, we haven't had Congress in a month, maybe we don't need them, so we're going to do something, like we're going to either nerf them or castrate them or do something, because we haven't had them working in almost 30 days, for almost 30 days now. And look at what happened yesterday, right? So did you see the report about Mellon and 130 million to pay the military guys? Did you read that? So think about this. Like, do we want our military being paid by multi-billionaires? Like, what's happening here? Do we go from an all-volunteer army to basically mercenaries who work for the highest bidder?
insanity, because I don't think it is, but I am saying it's happened more than once before, and we have gone back to normal operation.
Yeah, but on the face of it, it's the face of it, right? On the face of it, did it happen previously when the government was shut down?
When the government was shut down in the McKinley administration, no, sir. It happened because the government didn't have enough money to
Marshall, the
design and stand
historian.
it anyway.
Okay, so what is it? Is it a? I don't
Daryl,
know. Is it a loan?
Daryl and Marshall, if you don't mind me interjecting. That's a real important question, and perhaps it's one that we should discuss tomorrow. But today, the question is, does Trump really want another term, and can Trump really get another term?
Yeah, I think he absolutely won. I think he'll lie. He'll say whatever it is he needs to say. He just needs the folks around him to do what they need to do. He needs Stephen Miller to do what they need to do. Again, all you have to do is not have anyone stand in your way. That if
Yeah, but do we really think nobody's gonna stand in his way? Like nobody from the court system would stand in his way. Like the thing I read earlier said that he could go to court, but that he couldn't just do it because he wanted to. The implication by Ms. Brown, I believe was her last name, was that if the court fails to abide by plain meaning, then we're in a really big situation. I don't know under this administration when the court has failed to keep the plain meaning of the constitutional text. They may have made decisions that favored the administration, but I can't think of a single decision in which an amendment read one thing and the Supreme Court said the amendment read another thing.
Supreme Court has ruled that it was legal.
Well, this is the thing.
When Jamaicans eat your shit?
Because
when Jamaicans eat your burger?
Because of Jamaica's location.
Why do you care so much about Jamaicans? Why?
So
you should go back to whence you came.
To secure America.
It's no. Go and secure America by yourself.
You're
not the greatest one. Go bye.
Are you going to tell Jamaicans where you're from?
Leave.
Are you going to tell Jamaica?
Okay, this has been the John Kitover Candidate Congressman podcast. Ben, hope you enjoyed it. Health, wealth, love.
Hypercross, which involve no type of government, which requires the littlest amount of I just gotta think like so once again,
Lion left.
I just want to say 2 minutes ago, and now suddenly the P.T. was just calm and that's all right. I think
You have none. Mental health profiles. Like if you got PTSD, but you really want to go be a drill sergeant, and they're like, no, nigga, you still kind of crazy. You can either get a pro.
Take much of your all time. I am born in Thailand. My English will be with accent, but it's with truth. I have a car accident 5 years ago, and since then I've become weirder and weirder. And I can speak 3 languages, human language, and I learn light language, and I speak frequency. So feel into my words and question frequency. And I am in Om, as my real name is Umaporn Sangchan. I'm born in Thailand in 1976 on the 17th October. I'm not afraid of you, afraid of God. Generator, operator, destroyer, hear me now. I am nowhere, but now here, I'm here for all children, all color of children. And they took either away and to restore it. 144,000 collect. I am, this I am, Uma.
That was great presentation.
Every fucking second of that shit.
What was the problem with anything she said?
I know, after everything that we heard in this room, like, y'all are weird.
Really quick. I don't get what the problem with what she said was. She told you she speaks light, she speaks frequency. Y'all niggas hear weirder shit in this bitch all the fucking time. Way weirder shit all the time that niggas can't even explain what they do.
We don't fuck with that shit.
GOD, please shut the fuck up and stop talking. Hey, somebody got you. Somebody being real quick. I got you.
So you can't be here with a
What's wrong with you,
Have you been here for the whole? Have you been the whole thing? This is what.
Nah, I'm not saying, but at the same time, damn, somebody got to his ass before I did, bitch. Sit your ass in a goof on me, done. Like, I'll remove your goof ass from the room and keep playing with me, and I'll tell you.
Don't remove, bro.
Man, look, bro, you think any of you niggas gonna tell me not to remove that troll ass bitch? Anyway, like I was saying, like, she told you guys, you know, she was in an accident. We had the conversation about, well, I wasn't here for the whole conversation, so she said some off the wall shit. It can't be anything worse than what RJ said. That's first. Secondly, she told you guys she was in an accident. We talk about when you have head trauma of any kind, your mind alters. I told y'all the story of how Tesla became a fucking genius, and that came from falling off a horse and nearly dying. Even though I think Temo says shit, that's here nor there. The way they explained his genes was head trauma. All I'm gonna simply say is y'all write off way too much. We listen to way too many conspiracies, and I always tell y'all these shits merge together and blend together. We know about frequency, we know about dimensions, we know about light. Do I believe this lady? I don't know her to know if I believe her or not. Do I not believe her? No, because why would I? You niggas never receptive to any information other than the shit that y'all have in y'all heads and wonder why all of these conversations are circular and we don't fucking get anywhere. Sometimes you just gotta take the information and be like, okay, this lady crazy, let me keep it pushing, and let that be that. Like, y'all don't always gotta, like, some people, I get it. You gotta tell them. Like, nigga like GOD, you gotta tell them. You know what I mean? With her, she ain't say nothing to warrant that response. Like, come on, yo.
Thank you for that, and you all are welcome to check my social application. I put my truth on my bio. Check.
I love what you said, Ty. I wanted to get your perspective on three outlets because that's why you started talking in the first place. But you couldn't go into depth about it. But I kind of wanted your opinion on what 3 outlets is supposed to do to us in our bodies and stuff like that. Ty.
Yes, king. And king speak king. Queen speak queen. Alien speak language. I asked do you all know what is the first language human ever speak? And that is Anuhasi language of the radiant, language of the Father. I am all the golden ray. And I asked TT, do you have proof of being a golden child?
What the hell is going on in here?
Well, she has an accent, you guys. She has an accent.
No, let it rock. No, let it rock.
Yes, because is light and light is sound. If you close your eye, see wisdom, meet Sophia, Gaia, Terra. And in silence, all noise reside. If you are truly silent have no problem with noise. Feel into the frequency of me, meet truth. 3i Atlas are here
You
to
guys
help.
that listen, you can hear. So Chop, let me just say, for those that are feeling a ways about what she's saying or feel like it's nonsense, have any of you guys ever heard of Gaia?
Yup, that's Mother Earth.
Yes, of course. So what you should do, right, in the time that we have, where she is experiencing us and we're experiencing her, do this thing, right?
Yes.
Where somebody from another land is telling you something that is relatable to things that you already relate to. What's their version of it? Let's just chill and fucking listen and don't be so disputive at first, and understand that even when any of these ladies, and I might be older than y'all, if you've ever heard of Gem, or Gem is a cartoon, but they had other cartoons when G.I. Joe and all that was out. They had conversations about Mother Gaia. It's so weird. They did talk about this. They tell it to you in the cartoons. And now that somebody's saying something that's in a relationship to the things that you've heard about, what's their version of what they heard about it? Let's fuck with it for a second.
I said Sophia, Gaia, Terra, because she has a name. Mother Earth have different name in different dimensions. And Gia is her name on 7D. If you don't know about dimension, you don't know about the shift, you don't know about the split, wake the fuck up. We already split.
Hey, T, so I got a question for you, T. Yo, who was that, bro? Like, come on, man. Hey, TA, you was about to get into the 3i Atlas, and again, this is part of the, just really quick, give me a second. This is part of the conversation I said the other day about the Tower of Babel. I said the reason we don't know if they're fucking Chinese, Filipino, Asian, Jamaican, well, no, Jamaican, I can't say Jamaican, Indian, like anybody who speaks a language that's not Indian, we don't know what their conspiracies are because y'all, I'm not even gonna, just mute up real quick, TA. I'm not gonna say that y'all shut everybody out, but just some of these questions, like, pick her brain, like, yo, in your religion or whatever you believe in, what does this shit have to do with the 3i Atlas? Who knows? Maybe she could drop a gem that we can all piece together and be like, yo, for the conspiracy, because these are just conspiracy conversations. Like, don't act like, you know, anybody in here is teaching anybody anything. As long as I've been in here, niggas ain't teaching nobody shit for real, for real. It's just a whole bunch of shit regurgitated and niggas having a belief and running with it and sticking with it. So those are kind of the conversations that typically happen unless conversations get moderated. So TA, based on what you just said, what do you believe the 3i Atlas to be? And I'm gonna ask you to respond and keep your response to 30 seconds or less so other people can speak.
Okay, thank you for the really great question. And I already have the evidence on my new PTR. You can all please click on it. You asked me about conspiracy, click on this photo and click it to expand the whole bigger picture, because this is about one world religions and my answer is in there. The secret religions is the oldest religion there is for now on human timelines. There's no time, there's no space in my city. That is your, thank you.
So the 3i Atlas, it isn't coming here to do anything in particular, is what you're saying?
The 3i Atlas are coming here to take the loose. And if you have 12D shield on, you are fine. But if you don't know about 12D shield, you're fucked.
What's the tweet? You said the shield? What happened, Michael? What did you say?
Hey, so she asked me if I was a golden child and if I had proof.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really. Well, you know what? Never mind.
Oh, that's crazy. I thought we was entertaining.
Yeah, I thought we was about to have a.
Wait, Chop, please bring it back. But let her and Todd do that. But bring it back when they're done. Todd, TT, go ahead.
Yeah. So as far as the centering nature, right? So when you look into the sacred art, they talk about being able to center energy on your heart and your meridians, right? It has to do with compressing or centering love. There you go. Putting love into your heart, right? She if I was can show proof, I would say that the proof for me, genuinely would be that when they fucked with me, when I ran into the scientists, and before that, I had all this golden energy around me, and people were like, oh yeah, you believe in Jesus, all this was happening, right? I run into this dude, and I have all the stuff that happens to me in my life, and at the point when I want to say that I am aware of the most manipulation, I would say it like that. I have this protection come out of what I would say would be I don't want to say my soul, but like my body, right? And to know that a lot of this stuff is related, I would say that that's proof, right? I would say that the proof is that even in my own experiences, even though the military or whatever was happening was going on, I decided to protect myself, and I've showed myself proof by walking down this highway for miles with this giant aura around me, right? And then on top of that, just before all this stuff had happened, my life was, everyone around me I was blessing, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I pretty much focused on love my entire life. So
basically you're saying you don't know how to have proof of being a golden child, but I do.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay, that's sure. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay, please check out and refresh your screen. I put my new PTR on, and in there is Thai letter and alphabet.
Can you explain to us, you know, if you're a golden
You can
child?
listen, or you can.
No, I'm gonna ask you a fucking clear question, lady. I'm not these other people. I don't even fucking know you, right?
I don't know you either, sir. And I don't care who you are. I'm not afraid.
I mean, I'm Jamaican.
Speak.
Like I said, can you explain how you know if you're a golden child or not?
Yeah.
And I'm not vibing with nothing that you be saying. So I'm a true skeptic. So I'm waiting for you to provide something right now.
I'm about to do that, and I already asked you all to check out my new PTR because that is from my knowledge, from my culture. That letter is in Thai, and if you click on it, you're gonna see, and if you translate it, it's gonna say your body produce gold through skin and hair. Yes. And if you can, one of them, but I have proof of me taking a selfie of myself and my skin turned gold.
I told the story when I was in the hospital and everybody was staring at me because I was shining. I done talked about shining gold and being inside of an MRI, and all the nurses were like, because they're like, what the fuck is going on? And the machinery started fucking up. I've talked about the fact that people literally in the hospital were like, oh, you showing your light now show who you are, literally. And then on top of that, they're like, oh yeah, but consider lamp, consider light. She also said, like you're a warrior, but what was the last part? She said, I forget what it was, but yeah, I mean, one more thing that was gonna happen, I was about to say.
This is office was there. This is state, or was this off the country?
A hospital, my dude. I said it was a hospital.
So what hospital were you at?
Sorry about that. So yeah, it was.
Okay,
so
you
as
niggas
far
be
as
lying. You fucking lying.
I mean, yeah, you want me to say the actual? That's wild, bro. I'm not sitting here and say the exact hospital.
Act like you there right now.
So two things. One, let's wrap this shit up because I thought y'all was about to start talking about 3-Eye Atlas. Y'all just gonna.
So the last thing I was gonna add was that one of the abilities that comes from this is that through love you can actually telecommunicate with other people and they can protect you, right? So in this hospital, I actually had 4 individuals while I'm being wrapped in golden aura and all that shit. They started getting wrapped in golden aura, and they literally, they was a fucking simulation, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you, bro. They literally were going to get out of the hospital. They felt as if I did not deserve to be there, but all I was doing was thinking, hey, I don't want to be here, break me out, and I don't really give a fuck how you guys feel about this, but this is what happened. And then now I'm watching that the Merovingian bloodline has the ability to control people with their thoughts, right? Literally, this was in the movie Eternals. This man could control other people with his mind, right? I'm not trying to say that I'm doing this nefariously. I said that I did it with love, right? It wasn't me testing, oh, can I control people? I was I feel as if I'm linked to whatever the fuck is going on and what should be happening in the future, and I'm just figuring. So that is another ability that came from, that is linked to what she's talking about. So I'm not saying that it's proof, but for me, there's a lot of things that have happened to me in my personal life that show me there's more to what's going on than what meets the eye. So y'all can either listen to what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, not that y'all are being rude, but I don't know. I'm done. I'm done. A liar.
Can someone, can you please say, is she still here? Oh, she gone. Oh no, she's here. She's here.
I'm here, sweetheart.
Yes, boo. Okay, can you tell us about the people? Because when Chop asked you about Three Eye Atlas, initially you were saying it was the Lilith, like some people the Lilith. I can't remember some of that or something. What you said?
Yes, because extra test. Yeah, how do you gonna say? It's here to help the one that passed the test, and it's here to cleanse the one that's still not test.
Actually, that makes sense considering the video though. Like, remember what I said about... No, because initially I own it. Initially I wasn't sure because the beginning statement I was like, I'm not sure. And but the more I listen, I'm like, okay, maybe there's... Look, I ain't got a vibe with everything someone's... But one is, like I can see that because I keep thinking about, you know, the blue and the red, right? And so one is the awakening and one is the cleansing. And so I do feel like that's what's coming, possibly, right?
Yes, if I may add that I don't live in fear since my NDE near-death experience in that car accident. I am getting more weirder and weirder, but I am love. I'm a golden child. Just as Mark said, everyone can be a child of source, not just God, because I hate the God's war down here. Believe it or not, God-fearing goddess are very cute, and the true source is here. We are being observed and watched all way possible because we are so loved. This event is disclosure of the time loop I've been waiting for eons. Eons. You hear me?
She seems tapped in. That's all I'm saying.
I'm at 0 point. I do this.
He tapped in, bro.
I'm out of this. I am
respectfully to the spectrum of drugs, bro.
0 point. Do not disturb me because I'm gonna fuck this shit up.
Hey, TA, so with that,